Hello everyone, and welcome to day 3 of relaunch week for the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage YouTube channel. I wanted to make a video for you today, the third day of the week, to talk about something that I often get questions about. That's kind of a running theme, as you can say. These are questions I've never really either addressed at all, such as for day 1 and 2. Please check those videos out. You'll see what I mean. And also, people have often said, how much is a machine worth? Either something that they own, or maybe it's one that they want to buy. So I thought I would try to do that, and I'm going to set it up as a series. In fact, this is just one video to kind of launch that series. We won't do the whole series this week. And as we begin, again, welcome to the channel if you are new, or maybe you've been watching this channel for 10 years. Either way, we have a donation model with Buy Me a Coffee, so please feel free to donate if you find this channel helpful to you in any way. So I'm going to create a series of videos because I know you all, those of you who know this channel, know how I am, and I love to talk about machines. So I won't be able to do it in one video. In fact, there will be two series. There are going to be two categories. This one is all about how much is reasonable to pay for a machine when it's for you, when you want to buy the machine, for you want to use it, you're a sewer, or maybe you're new to sewing or a seasoned sewer. You may have different reasons. Maybe it's a machine that it was the first machine you sewed on. Maybe it belonged, maybe you remember a grandparent or a parent who had it, or an aunt or uncle or something, and you for whatever reason, you want that machine. You have many reasons, but let's look at what machines should be bringing. And this is based on not just 10 years of this channel, but 12 years of my seeking out sewing machines. And now again, the series for people who restore machines, maybe you are thinking about getting into the hobby, or maybe you already are into the hobby, that's a separate series, because the way I am a restorer, I don't collect sewing machines, and I don't really do much sewing, to be honest. I try, but many of my viewers you are just ninja masters compared to me. But when you're looking for a machine to rescue, invest time, and then resell it, that's a different calculus. Okay, so I want to keep those separate because that can be very confusing to you and confusing to me. So you want to buy a machine for you, not to restore and then try to find a new owner for and to find a client or a customer for. Okay, so there are many places you can go. You can go to there are auction sites that have lots of auctions you can do. Some people go to thrift stores, but that's a lot of footwork. You get lucky. Sometimes I do, and I get lucky. But you, of course, can go to other places where there are digital marketplaces. This is literally Facebook Marketplace. So we'll start here. There are other places you can go. So today, we're just going to focus by brand. Now, you might say, why not you just cover different brands? We are in future videos, but there are so many machines. Look at this, everyone. I went in and I did a search. Let me take the search out for just a moment and just put sewing machine, okay? Look at this. It just goes on and on and on, okay? Now, it just keeps going, and this is Canada. You're going to get even more, depending on how big the metro area you have. Say, in many countries in the world, the United States, I have tons of viewers. So, and I have viewers everywhere around the world. It's the analytics tell me this, which is really cool. So, in order to not get lost in an ocean of machines, I'm going to do this by brand. Okay, so I'm going to cover different brands, and down in the comments, if I haven't covered a brand, let me know, and we'll do a video there too. But I'm going to start with a name that all of you know. It was once the largest maker of sewing machines in the world, and it is probably, of all the famous names, and there are a lot of them, probably the most famous name in sewing machines ever. And it's so famous that people sometimes call call their machines by this name even when they're not this brand. And of course the brand is Singer. So I can't think of a better name to start with. Doesn't mean they're better or lesser than any others, but this is one that many of you will search for, especially when you're new to sewing machines. Okay, what have we got here? We've got Singers of all different eras. I'm focused on the heirloom vintage category. These are the machines that I look for. I've done videos with hybrids and machines, the late 70s and 80s, but we're just going to focus on either really old machines, from the early turn of the century, usually all the way up through the mid 1970s, depending on the brand. Okay? So let's just start at the top. Look what we have right here. We have a Singer 301. Those of you who know vintage machines, you're probably not a stranger to this. It's a very popular machine. It is a straight stitcher, and it has an interesting connection to what is, you're going to see in the moment, one of the most coveted machines in the vintage sewing machine world. And it needs no introduction, certainly not by me. But we'll start here with the 301. So again, we're looking at these things listings, okay? You haven't been able to go to see the machine because that has a different set of priorities, right? Different things you can look at, but you can't do that. You're just looking at the ads. You might want to reach out to the seller before you go and look at it. So what have we got? I'm going to read the ad to you, but I'm going to keep the cam focused on the machine because it'll get, I can't take all of that in at once. And I want you to really look at the machine. So reading the posting, it says vintage Singer 301 sewing machine in cabinet with stool and buttonholer. And then it says all accessories are pictured plus 30 spools of thread. So nothing wrong with that. So let's take a look at the pictures and see what we've got. So this, first of all, let me tell you what they are asking for the machine. The original price listing was $450. Remember, these are Canadian dollars, so you want to take off, if you're in the US, take off about a third of that, give or take. The exchange rates, move around. But then they have reduced it. As you know, on Facebook Marketplace, if someone has a price and then they change it, they'll often show the new price and then the old one has a strike through it sometimes. And this was $450. They've lowered it to $395. What do you guys think? Is that too much? Now remember, you're not buying it to restore and mark up so that you can keep the hobby going. No, let's just take a look what we've got here. Okay, it comes in. This is a very commonly seen cabinet from the era. It's oak. It has its stool. I believe this stool is the matching stool. Now the color looks different, but the wood that the stool is using for the legs is different. I don't know if it's maple or what, but I know that this is an oak wood. I've actually had this table before. Now let's just look at this. What do we see? From this picture, we don't see any real damage, but again, this is a photo. You may notice, and this is particularly true with some of these cabinets, look at the pulls on the drawers. I don't know if you can see this, but the pulls are not all level. That happens with these, and there's a bolt behind it, and you can turn them. They actually will turn, and you can adjust that. So that doesn't bother me. If I was looking for this machine for myself, that would not bother me. Okay, we get to see a photo of it closed. That's nice. Again, hopefully it's in good shape. You're not going to know till you see it, but so far I'm not seeing anything that's alarming. Can I tell if anything's been overhauled on this machine? Not a lot. That bobbin tire, that's the bobbin winder tire. Chances are it's been replaced, and that's a good thing. When this machine was new, Singer, with this particular line of models, they color-coded their rubber tires on the bobbin winder. Singer was so big they could order any color they wanted. The black machine would have had a black tire. This tire's been replaced, but you can do that. The tires are cheap and easy to install. This is not a big deal either way. Now, look at this photo. I did not zoom in on this photo, by the way. This is what's on the ad. So you can't touch this is the tension assembly, very important part of any vintage sewing machine of any kind. You can't turn it, and you're going to need to look at it, make sure it's not missing. I see the number dial, but look right here. Do you guys see that right there? That is, for those of you who know machines will know this, that's the check spring. Really important that that's there. Now, if you go to see this machine, you'll just take your finger and very gently pretend this cursor is your finger. Just very gently brush up, push it up gently, and it should bounce back on you. If it has bounce, it should be okay. Should, in quotation marks. All right, what else we got? Oh, while we're here, don't forget to look in the ad. Are there any thread guides missing? Often you can't tell because they're not giving you good photos. But in this case, they did. I see a thread guide here. I see one here. And then when you come down, as you come down, I can't quite tell if this thread guide is in, it could have been moved out of place, I don't know, because there should be another thread guide behind here, behind the needle clamp. That's what this is right here, because you're going to be feeding the thread from the right to the left. Remember, most vintage machines from this era, they thread the opposite, but Singer had a few models that they said, well, we're going to do it the other way, and they could. They were that big. But nothing. Okay, we have an above shot. You almost never get this, by the way. So this is really neat that they decided to allow us to see this. Let's take a look. Now look at there. Now this is a clue. Okay, this like a mystery. You see this spool of thread. I'm willing to bet that spool of thread has been there a long time. That is not a new spool. I don't know if it's a plastic or wooden spool, but I can tell that's been around a while. That's not good or bad, but it tells me the machine may not have been used in a while, right? Or not. Someone could have used it recently and used an old spool. So got to be careful with my assumptions there. Right in the center of the spool, you're going to see that. You see that little metal, looks like a little metal cylinder or a little pipe. That is, of course, your spool pin. And it is just like the pin down here. You want to make sure that's there. Way down here on the lower right, you're going to see the spool pin for bobbin winding. And the 301 has one of those funky little spring-looking pins. I love them. They're flexible. Okay, so start with the thread. Let's come over here. I see this right here. That is the lever for your pressure bar. And it's good that it's there, but that's not what I'm focused on. There's thread guide number 1. I know this machine and how it threads. If you have a 301, you know it as well. Come over here, we have another thread guide, sort of I don't know what you'd call it, a little valley-shaped guide. And then, so far, oh, did you guys catch this? There's a little paint loss here. You know, this machine is like 75 years old or something, pushing that. So that's okay. That's not a deal breaker. If you are a collector, and you want to create a massive collection of machines, some of you are, I know some of my viewers are. If you are, you might be a little pickier about that. But for you, many of you who just want a 301 because of its incredible stitch quality, you may not care. But again, it's part of the wear, a little bit of paint loss here. Now, one thing to note about Singer 301s, if you're going to put it in a table, virtually every table that this machine will go in, except for the card table style, that's a whole nother topic. But most of the tables, of course, if you want to put a 301 in, don't forget, you see the pins, these are the hinge pins in the hinge, just like any other Singer table. But remember, the 301 is it's a unicorn machine in a way, because it's not designed to have its barrel screws attached to these pins, because it was designed as the ultimate portable. And so I've shown this in other videos on the channel here. Singer created a special cradle, they call it. It's basically a metal tray. That tray attaches to the pins, and the machine just slips right into the tray. It's a beautiful design. Now, if you want to see that, go into the search bar on my channel and you'll find videos talking about that. So what does this tell me? The fact that the machine is hanging here on these pins, I'm 99% sure it has a tray. And that's only important if you're going to put it in a table. If you just want to use it on a sewing, tabletop, or in a case, you're not going to care if it has its cradle. But good to know. All right. Oh, look at there. What do we see? Wow, we are looking at all kinds of accessories. Now, this tells me something a little bit. When I see this, what it tells me is that I think, you guys tell me what you think. When you see a collection like this tells me that this machine was very likely either from the original owner or their estate, or maybe it was passed on to one of their children or grandchildren and they're selling it. I don't think this much has been disturbed here. We've got vintage needles and oil and the two vintage bobbins, even some of the lubricant, right? Just like we were talking about yesterday. So, and it has its original manual. That's a very nice to have. Singer manuals are so easy to get online. You can get a PDF. You can even get vintage manuals for not much money, but it's nice that they have it. So, what do you folks think? Is this Singer 301 worth its now reduced price of $395? I think it is overpriced. Let me explain why. The Singer 301 came in 3 color schemes. It came in black, it came in beige, light beige you see here, and it came in the oyster white light beige two-tone that you see on the home page of my channel. That's the first machine I ever restored. So Singer 301s are not cheap. The people who know quilting, for example, and people who do fine delicate sewing, they know that the Singer 301 has the same bobbin and shuttle mechanism that the Singer Featherweight has. People sometimes call this the big sister to the Featherweight. It has many things that are different, but it creates a stitch that is just glorious. Those of you who have these machines, a Featherweight or a 301, you know what I'm speaking of. So the black 301s, they bring the most, and then the beige and the two-tones, they sell for a little less, not dramatically less, but the black ones bring a premium. Now, think about this for a moment. This machine could very likely require either a basic tune-up or something like I do. I suspect it's going to need a full overhaul. All of my machines get a full restoration, conservation overhaul. They take a lot of time, and I charge accordingly. I say that because several years ago, I had a black Singer 301, and I did a full restoration like I do every machine. I sold that machine for, I think it was $350, maybe $375. Now, that is a black one, and that's a full restoration all that time. This machine, I mean, they list it as used like new condition, and the seller, I think, is being honest. Don't forget, many sellers don't know. They don't know much about machines. You can sometimes tell by what they say about it. But anyway, what do you think? Everyone, please put in the comments. Maybe you disagree. Again, people pay for a machine based on not only its condition, but how badly they want it, right? Maybe you just want another machine and you don't have a nostalgic, sentimental attachment to 301s in particular. Now, let's go ahead, and we might as well just get this one. Let's go ahead and address the little elephant in the room. This, of course, those of you who know vintage sewing machines probably know this machine. This is the Singer Featherweight. The model number is the 221. This particular one says Singer Featherweight 221K. That means the machine was built in the United Kingdom, but sold here in large numbers. And it says Featherweight Singer from the 50s. That's about right. Condition: tested and confirmed to work. However, the included pedal is missing the cable that connects it to the sewing machine. And then it says 265 or best offer. Now remember, that's Canadian, so in US dollars, that's not really that bad. Now, Singer Featherweights are not rare. They were made for many years in very large numbers. However, they are one of the most coveted machines around, so you're not going to get a really sweetheart deal on them. In fact, of all the years I've been doing this, and I've restored a number of featherweights, I think I paid $50 for one a number of years ago, even before that was before I even had my channel. I don't think I've ever gotten a deal like that since. So you know why? Look at the featherweight. It's a very unique shape and size. Even people who don't know sewing machines, if they're looking for things to auction, they go to auctions and bid, they know this machine. It's one of the most well-known in the vintage sewing world. Now, the description is a little interesting. It says, tested and confirmed to work, but it's missing the cable that connects it to the sewing machine. So I'm not quite sure. I don't really understand that. It could be that the seller has more than one featherweight. You know, maybe they were able to get the right one, but they're not selling it. Now, look what's in front here. You see there's a foot pedal with it and some cord over here on the photo. I can't tell. You wouldn't be able to tell if you're looking at this. This is not the original foot pedal. But moreover, you don't have to have the original button style Singer foot pedal to use to sew with a featherweight, but you've got to have the right cord and plug. But would this dissuade me from buying it? Not at all, because you can get Singer cords all day long. Now this box, this is from the 50s or 60s, and that would have come. It doesn't have a brand on it. This is probably originally came with a Japanese clone, but they're just using it, and that's fine. No big deal. Look behind there. Remember, a featherweight, does it come with a case? The cases are not cheap either. Do the case clasps work? The clasps are actually attached to the lid, which is cranked back here. So check out the carry case. Does it smell funky? Has it been in a basement? This one may be fine. I don't know. All right, let's look at some more photos of it. Okay, look at the decals. Is there any decal loss? Now, sometimes when you're looking at a vintage machine of many different brands, aesthetics and the condition of the finish and the decals, that's important to everyone. But you will notice that if you're looking for a featherweight buyers are some of the most aware and educated buyers I've ever met. And when someone goes to buy a featherweight, chances are they know a lot about them and they're going to ask lots of questions. So you're going to look, how are the decals? Now there's some light scratches here. Is the paint beautiful and shiny? Probably not if it was used, unless it was just bought and stored for decades. I see some scuffing here, but nothing that would, I don't think this is an unreasonable price so far. Now let's keep going. Now, even though this machine was made in the United Kingdom factory, many Singer models were made in different factories and sent around the world. They had this amazing distribution system. But notice the motor. Sometimes the seller will say this machine was made in Canada because they'll see this. The motor and the other electricals were made in St. John's Richelieu in Canada. And then, how can that be if the machine is a 221K? It was made in United Kingdom. That's because the machine was made there. They shipped it to Canada. They would often do this to the U.S. as well. They ship machines to North America, and then either the Canadians or the Americans would put their electricals with the machine. Okay, it was just easier then for the Scottish factory to make special electrical setups for those. So be careful. Now, by the way, if you're trying to price this and you see it says motor made in the United Kingdom, look very closely. Make sure that you look at the voltage. Up here, it's hard to make out, but it's going to say 100 to 110 volts. And of course, Canada and the US share the same electrical specifications, but they don't in the United Kingdom, so you have to watch. All right. Okay, they gave us a picture of this. So this person may know a little bit about machines. They even knew how to open this. So this looks pretty dry. I don't see a lot of shiny. It should be glossier here if there was oil in it. That gear looks pretty dry. That doesn't, it's not a deal breaker at all. I often get machines like this. It just needs waking up, as I like to say. It's been hibernating for a while, I believe. A nice little shot there you can see, and you can get a feel for the paint finish. Keep in mind, a little scratching and scuffing is expected, but sometimes you will see what's called crazing. Crazing is sort of a crackle look. It doesn't mean it's flaking necessarily. Remember that these machines of this era, they were painted black, and then they would apply the decals, and then they would put a clear coat over it. Well, the clear coat breaks down over time. Sometimes, I've gotten lucky and had beautiful ones, but a little crazing is to be expected. But remember, if you're going to figure out the best price on a featherweight, you're going to be a little pickier because there are lots of featherweights, and people, if you're going to pay more for the featherweight, you may not care. Honest to God, this one's $265. That's not a lot. Now, this seller originally priced this machine because you can see, again, on Marketplace, Facebook, you can see if they've changed the price, the original price, sometimes it will show and it's marked through. The original price listed was $2,850. Now, those of you who know featherweights, you might know why they did that. That's a dramatic difference. I think the seller was trying to sort of evaluate, how do I price this? And when they did that, they went looking at Singer featherweights and looked at prices. Well, if this was a Singer 222K, that would have made it, well, here's some of the accessories that you see. Again, this is a pretty common thing. That's nice to have. Vintage bobbins, all great. Singer accessories, with a few exceptions, are not rare. And so if they come with it, that's great. They're all beautifully made. They're vintage. But I wouldn't let the number of accessories heavily dictate the price you pay for this machine, and for most Singers for that matter. Now, keep in mind, if this was a 222, this would be a convertible. It would have a free arm, and this section here would slide. I have to tell you, in the 12 years I have been restoring machines, and in the 10 years of this channel, not once have I ever laid my hands on a Singer 222K. They are not common in North America because they weren't sold here. When you see them here, people have either bought them and had them shipped off of places like eBay from the UK into North America, or they migrated. You know, they immigrated to North America and brought it with them. And I've had clients before bring these to me for a restoration, and then I would find the North American 110 volt motors, and we would convert it to North American electricals. But I think that the seller probably said, oh, they didn't know enough about the machine, and they saw, oh, 222Ks are selling for, they sell for thousands, right? They're very expensive, at least here. So I think that's what happened. So remember, when the seller prices it, sometimes they price them way over what they're worth, and sometimes they underprice because they don't know. Of every photo that I have seen here, everyone, this is the most important one. Those of you who know the Singer 301 or the Singer Featherweight, you know how very precious this is. You see this piece here? Looks like almost like a big watch. That is the bobbin case of the Singer Featherweight. It's also the same bobbin case for the 301. Why does this matter? This bobbin case is arguably one of the most incredible and complex bobbin case designs ever created. And if you buy a copy, like a new reproduction from China, they're not very good. There is a reproduction made in Japan. They're okay. But even the Japanese, with all their incredible fabricating skill, none of them are as good as the originals. Now, you may differ. If you've had good, please put your comments there. It's okay if you don't agree with everything, all this rambling I'm giving you. But if this is missing, okay, be very careful what you pay, because you're going to need to replace this to get this machine to work, and you're looking at well over $100 for a vintage bobbin case. If it has the bobbin case, take another step. Remove the bobbin case and check the little lever and check the spring action. Make sure that the bobbin case is not damaged. They're tough and they're robust, but this is a 75-year-old machine, so you don't know all of how it was treated over its life. But this is good to see. They're asking $265. The bobbin case alone is worth more than $100. Now, they said that it's missing. It has included pedal, but missing the cable. So that pedal that you saw, again, it's not going to work, not because of the pedal so much, because it doesn't have the right cord. Well, those of you who know Singer vintage machines know that of all the power cords for vintage sewing machines, this is the easiest to get. You can get vintage versions. You can get reproductions. They're easy to get. They're not expensive. Again, that's not a deal breaker. I would not turn away this machine just because they don't have the cord. That's very different for other brands, some of the other brands. All right. And now, again, you want to inspect. This has an aluminum body. Look around and see if you see any white, powdery looking stuff. It could have some corrosion. Yes, aluminum does corrode. It corrodes with white instead of the orange of iron and steel rust. This used to be one of its rubber feet, and that's original. And the fact is, it has degraded, right? It's just started to break down, but you can get these, and these are not expensive to buy. They are reproduced, so still not a deal breaker. And so there you go, right? You're seeing, you look through all the pictures and you decide. But again, when you're buying a machine that is in such high demand, you know, it's very doubtful you're going to get this for much less than this. And, you know, if I were going to keep this machine, I don't know, who knows, maybe I'll buy it. $265 in Canada is not bad. And, but again, you know, I don't know if it runs, right? So it could be that the seller has, I don't know how they checked it to say it's tested and confirmed to work, unless they took it to a shop and they had a real cord for it. I don't know. You'd have to investigate that. All right. Alrighty here. Let's see. What else can we look at? Sometimes they show pictures of the table or the machine. Let's find something that is not quite as costly. All right. How about that? Singer 185J. I've restored a number of these. You see them on my channel. So what are we looking at here? Someone has this listed for sale. Let's read I'm going to read the listing to you. Singer Model 185 portable sewing machine. It is. It's not quite as portable as a Featherweight, but not bad compared to some of the other vintage models. Singer Model 185 portable sewing machine comes with original manual, accessories, and replacement bulb. Good working condition. Was checked at Singer Service Center 2 years ago. It's not bad, not too shabby. With belt replaced and checked over. $100. Solid machine. Now, notice it says it was sent to a service center. That's better than a lot of machines that you're going to come across. However, when a sewing machine is taken to an everyday modern day sewing center, you have to what do they do? Remember, these places have very high overhead. If they're in a retail situation, they might look at the machine, inspect it, make sure that the stitch length lever works and the bobbin winder, if maybe they check that. They will clean it from lint. They might put some oil in it and maybe do a little test stitching. That's about the most you're going to get, and you're going to pay a lot. Those of you who did my survey, you filled out the survey, you told me you're paying big money, $150, $200, a lot of you, or more. So this is better than what you normally get. You have no idea the condition of the machine. I see a plug here. Looks like it was replaced, and that can be a good thing or not. So is it worth $100? What do you guys think? I can only tell you in this part of Ontario where we are, I would say that is overpriced for this market. Whereas the Featherweight we just looked at was $265, and it actually might, I might consider it. We'd have to see. We'll see. I don't know, but it's not a bad price. But this one is overpriced in this market. Your market might be different. These machines were made in large numbers, and this is the descendant of the Singer 99, and basically it is a Singer 99 with a 1950s turquoise body, that lovely color there, and they changed the shape of the body and the bobbin winder. You've heard me talk about this machine before. The bobbin winder styling was changed. It's basically a 99, but it's a fun machine. It's strong as an ox. It's a little tractor. Now, would you pay $100? I don't know. I would want you definitely want to check it out, make sure it runs. But just because it's been to a service center, it's ahead of the game compared to a lot of machines I look at. But that's not a restoration. That's not what I and others do. The other people who do this hobby I have, they don't. That's not. I spend hours going through these machines to really bring them back for a whole new generation of sewing. I don't know about this one. What do we got left here? Oh, there's a machine from the back. You almost never see this. Has its carry case. The machine looks relatively clean, and that's not surprising. Remember, Machines that live their lives in carry cases, as long as they're not stored in basements and get funky smelling, they often look pretty good to be as old as they are in terms of dust and dirt. You want to look at the wiring. I can't tell from here if this belt is going to need replacing. I'm just looking at its shadow. The original belts on this model were actually sort of a light green color. They even color coded the belts. But again, belts for this is easy. I'm not really so much worried about the cost of parts for this machine. You can get them all day long. The question is, how much time do you want to put into it, or to pay someone to put into it, just to make sure that it's ready for another lifetime of sewing? I don't know. In this market, 50 is probably, or less. I paid $30 for them. But again, it's up to you. Maybe you really like it, right? How badly do you want a certain color, a certain look? Some people like small machines. They don't want a big machine with a big table. So, and then we have this photo. It has its manual. Oh, look at this. The light bulb. Really? Huh. This looks different than the light bulb that I know for that machine. This is a vintage Singer sewing machine light bulb. I don't know if it's the proper one, but don't quote me on that. And then there's a box of attachments. So there's that. So again, I think it's overpriced for our market, but who knows? Maybe they go for more in your market. But all right. What else can we take a look at here? Let's look at a few more. Okay. Now this one there's a black 301 there, but it's sponsored. Somebody has it for sale on Etsy and they're putting it here. I'm not going there. Okay. Now, let's look at this machine right here. This Singer is one of the models. I believe it's a 127 or 128. I can't tell unless I have the dimensions of the machine. This is a vibrating shuttle version. This is a bobbin system that many manufacturers, including Singer, had. They had lots of different systems. In my experience, this is a gorgeous machine. It's built like a tank, like everything else Singer was making at the time. However, this machine in our market brings less because they're not necessarily rare, and the two bobbin systems that are the most, well, I guess there are three, but the top loading bobbin, the class 66, the side loading bobbin, the class 15, and then of course you have your featherweight bobbins, and some of the Europeans have their own. But this machine is listed at $50. Let's take a look. Oh, it has a treadle table. The treadle table actually may be worth more than the machine in this case. Lovely table appears from what I can tell. And again, the machine is a beast. Look at that! Look at that big, heavy Hawken hand wheel there. So I would say, if someone buys this machine for $50, it's because they want a 128, 127, or 127 Singer, and or they've sewn on one and they like them. They are great machines. I have no disrespect for this machine, but I guess what I'm trying to communicate here is the demand is low, and so the price is. I would personally, if I were going to buy one, I might give $25 for the machine. If you own this machine and you love it, please don't be insulted. It's $25 is not a reflection of how much I respect and admire the machine. I'm simply reflecting to you what these machines bring on the market here in Southern Ontario. So, actually, I might pay $50 because this table is wonderful. I think the treadle table is worth that. So sometimes, you never know what you'll see there. Let's do one more. Let's see. Oh, no, we're going to do two more. This one here. This is a Singer sewing machine, and it is turquoise. It was built in the 50s and 60s. Now, this particular model is, I'll tell you, the only thing rare about this model, it's one of those models that Singer was not at their best. It's not about the quality of construction. It's steel. It's got a great motor. Again, it's not that they cheapened out, but the way the machine was engineered is In fact, I've never restored one. I don't see many of them here in Canada, but maybe we have them here. That one says, well, it was made in Canada, so we obviously have some. I don't see these very often. This was a machine that every sewing manufacturer, and I mean every one, no matter how many great machines they built, some of them had a few duds. Now the seller, they have no idea. In fact, this machine doesn't look like it's been used in a while. They say electric portable Singer sewing machine in good working condition, just missing a presser foot. Oh, that's easy no big deal. Functional sewing machine, or can be used as a collection, or like something to display. It comes with container with handle. Very heavy. Well, I can believe that. Yeah, it comes with its carry case. Actually, I don't think this is the original carry case. So if someone says it has a carry case, the case may be nice or not, but look at the machine, right? Someone has put the machine so they have something to carry it in. This is not the original case. You are not going to want to sew with this machine in this case because it's going to wobble around. There's the top. I'm not worried about it's soiled, but that doesn't bother me. What's concerning is that it's not in its original case. Many people who have owned this machine are not happy with its performance. Now think, that's very unusual. Singer rarely miss their mark. I mean, they are legendary for a reason, but every maker, this includes all the Europeans, the Japanese, every once in a while they would have a dud, and we can give them that. So I would not pay $100 for this machine. Now, if you own this machine and you think it's awesome, please share that in the comments. I don't want everyone to hate this machine. In fact, I've never held one, so I can't tell you it's horrible, but I can tell you what many sewers have expressed with it. So let's do one more, everyone, and I'm going to go here again. Well, we have another Featherweight. This Featherweight is listed as, it says Vintage Singer Portable Electric Sewing Machine, all original hardware, case, and owner's manual included, great condition. Well, it might be in great condition, but again, the vast majority of sellers I have ever dealt with, they have always been honest with me, but sometimes they're really mistaken. It's not that they tried to pull one over on me. They don't know. Or they think, hey, it runs, light comes on. They don't know how to measure or assess the condition. But they know they have a Featherweight because they have listed this at $750. This is not, you see, it's the 221. It's not a 222. Oh my God, if that was a 222, I'd be trying to buy it tomorrow. So it's a 221-1. They've got the original manual. That's nice. Now, I see some shiny paint here. That's cool. What else have we got? There's the motor. Again, another one. The motor was shipped from the UK, just like the other one we saw. Now, this has the St. John's motor, as you would expect. And so, this machine, even for a Featherweight. Now, I have had Featherweights that I restored, and I sold. Most of the Featherweights, honestly, that I restore today, they are commissions. People bring their Featherweights to me, and I give them a full restoration. It's rare that I buy one because, they just don't come around. People want so much for them. If I invest all that labor in them, I never recoup it. I actually take a loss, and that's not something I want to do with this hobby, because I use any of your donations to the channel and anything, the small amount that I net on a machine, I take it to buy more machines to perpetuate this hobby. So hopefully I can buy even more machines with the new donation model for the channel, but I digress. So here in Canada, these are Canadian dollars. Singer Featherweights don't go for $750. Anywhere from, well, you saw one was $265. That was on the low end. They go for typically $350 to $5. So I would say overpriced. But you guys tell me what you think. So that, everyone, was just a sampling of an ocean of vintage sewing machines. There's tons of these machines out there. These are just the Singers. I haven't even gone to the other brands yet. Well, now, by the way, I don't know if you know this, but whenever you go putting in the search bar, as I did, Singer sewing machine, you get mostly Singers, but you're going to see a few other brands that slip through. I don't know why that happens. I don't know what Facebook was doing with that. Who knows? But it doesn't matter. Most of the machines that we're looking at here are all Singers. So again, how much should you pay? right? Also look at the location. I'll give you two more examples and we'll wrap up here. Here is a Singer 500. This is what people lovingly call the Rocketeer. And they've got a video showing that it works. And it comes with a cabinet. It was originally $500. They've lowered the price to $350. It looks aesthetically, don't see a lot of scratches. It has its lid. Those lids sometimes go missing. The table looks lovely. A little wear on the front, but a little restore finish would clean that right up. Look, we have a full set of accessories with the box that came with the Rocketeer. The boxes are larger by this point, 1958, I think, when this machine debuted. And they're plastic instead of cardboard. And they offer more pictures. It says there is a built-in knee pedal with the cabinet or the foot pedal. You can use either one. Yes, comes with. Now it says machine is in excellent working condition. They made a video showing that it could sew. Now I am going to. This is kind of iffy, guys. You know, you may have always wanted a Rocketeer. People love them. They are fantastic machines. The last one of these I restored for a friend who was going to give it to her daughter-in-law. And I said, tell your daughter-in-law, because it was a gift. They were giving it as a gift. And I spent many hours waking that machine up. I said, make sure that your daughter-in-law knows, don't leave this machine to sit for a long time because they get cranky. And I think some people like to have sewing. They'll set up a sewing room, sometimes in a garage, or don't do that. These machines are magnificent, but they are cranky. They don't tolerate being put in attics or basements or garages very well. Now, table, 1958 table, lovely, but not rare. Let's see. Now they're showing in the video. They actually show a video of the video. They're showing a nice straight stitch. It's a rotary stitch on these, as you may know. Looks fine, but is it worth $350? What do you think? I am going to say no, and the reason is not because I don't like them. They are not uncommon, and so what we really need to do is think about this and say, okay, we are going to maybe negotiate and see what they want. If you really want one, it looks to be in good condition, but you're going to have to test those decorative stitches. Remember, those decorative stitches are really important. That's where these machines sometimes get fussy. So there you go. I hope this was helpful.